This is Sky Blues Extra.
Good afternoon, Sky Blue Army. You are watching Sky Blues Extra podcast post-match live. It finished at St Andrews today. Coventry City 0, Preston North End 1. But I am joined for his Sky Blues Extra debut, Matt Trutwin. How are you, Matt?
I'm all good. Not a bad time to make the debut. Obviously not the best of games today, but we're over the line, so we'll take it.
Exactly. And Matt, you for those Sky Blues fans who don't know, you've been doing a lot of the match previews, haven't you, for Sky Blues Extra Live, which people might have seen on Twitter, but now they can put a face to the name.
Yeah, finally getting involved. So I've kind of been a bit delayed. I was given the opportunity a bit earlier on in the season, but I probably wouldn't have reacted too well if there was a lot more on the game. Obviously, today we were probably in a situation where, any result would have seen us over the line. So, it's probably a bit more of a relaxed opportunity for me to make the debut.
Exactly. Make your debut on when our championship survival is confirmed. I mean, you can't get better than that.
Can't claim too much credit. I know I've broken up quite a good partnership recently, but obviously we've lost today. But I'll take a bit of credit for getting over the line.
Absolutely. Let's get some comments going then. Let's have a look. Look to the beach today. Championship football next season, though. I mean, do you think that's fair? Do you feel like we looked like we were on the beach today?
I didn't think it was a bad game for a 0-0, to be honest with you. I thought both teams were probably okay with the draw. They probably thought a draw would get them over the line. So I don't think anybody was going to, go crazy and try and push too hard to go for 3 points. So I don't think it was too bad. Yeah, it probably wasn't the kind of the performance we've seen in the last few weeks. We haven't kind of looked as up for it. But, as a game, I don't think it was too bad in spells. I think, towards the end, it probably petered out a little bit. It didn't start great either, but just one of those things, really. I think we knew a point would probably do it. So we were probably happy to take it.
I mean, it was obviously, and it looked for all the world, didn't it, that we sort of both sides were cancelling each other out. And then, of course, we gave away our 11th penalty of the season, Ben Wilson. Yep. We'll get into the game more detail, but it was a shame because obviously, he got so many plaudits. He made some good saves in the first half, didn't he, today? And he obviously against Stoke, he made that worldly save, a couple of great saves again. So it was a shame that he was sort of at fault, wasn't he, for the penalty this afternoon.
It probably shows championship level. You can have a good few weeks. And he had a good game, realistically, up until that point. He made a good few saves towards the end of the first half. It was just that one moment, really. And obviously you get punished and that's how you can lose a game. So it probably shows the difference between maybe being a League One or a League Two keeper and obviously what you need to step up to in the Championship. But a shame because obviously he has had a good few weeks at Michael Rose is probably happy it wasn't him who gave away the penalty this time. But it was a bit of a disappointment all around. But probably shows the difference in level, I'd say. Yeah,
exactly. Let's get some more comments going. We've one here from Reese. Great achievement securing championship football for the return to the city and the Rico. Well done, players and coaching team. And I think that's the overriding thing, isn't it? We've secured our championship status. We'd have all took 21st. We'd have all took surviving on the last day of the season. But to have it confirmed with a couple of games to go, especially, literally 2 weeks ago after we lost to QPR, things were looking, you might have seen me. I wasn't best pleased. Things were looking a bit dodgy.
I was watching.
So, I mean, it's a great achievement, isn't it, to the players to respond to that QPR. I know we lost today, but following that QPR game, to win 4 of our next 5 games with the big pressure matches against Rotherham and then to pick up against Barnsley, get back-to-back wins. I mean, huge credit to the players and the manager.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I mean, I was 100%. Anything that saw us staying up this season would have been, happy days. I'd have taken it at the start of the year. So 21st by goal difference would have been absolutely fine. At the moment, we're kind of pushing towards the top end of the bottom half of the table. So, it's been fantastic. The reaction, obviously, over the last few weeks, maybe starting with Bristol City. Obviously, we had a bit of a dip then against Bournemouth, but then the last few games have been unbelievable. And, you think about kind of where we are in terms of our budget, some of the teams around us. You look at their starting lineup, you look at their bench, it's a fantastic achievement and obviously sets us up well for next season. Obviously, hopefully we can build the squad and kind of maybe establish ourselves as a championship team.
Exactly, that's what we've got to try and do, isn't it? And we get some more comments. Glenn said Eccles has to play most games next season. What have your thoughts, Matt, been of Josh Eccles since he obviously got recalled in January, and he sort of played recently and sort of impressed? Especially, he was one of the few people who came out the QPR game with some credit when he came on, and since then he's done well. What do you think he'll play a big part next season?
I think he'll play a bigger part. I think he's obviously earned that in the last 2-3 games that he's been involved in. So maybe it's a bit early to say he's a nailed-on starter or he's going to play a lot of games next season. But I think he's shown that he can be a valuable squad player for us. You know, we've obviously still probably got a few players in there who are League One, League Two quality. But if we've got a few young players who could come through and say, do you know what, I'm maybe going to be that championship level player. That's going to be huge for us because we're not going to spend multiple millions of pounds next season again. So we need those young players to come through who probably show that they're okay to handle it, playing at this level. I think he's definitely one of them. So yeah, I can't imagine he'll be somebody who'll go back out on loan next year. I'd imagine he'll stick around and play more games. But yeah, maybe not a starter straight away from next season, but definitely more involved. Maybe as involved as he's been in the last 3 or 4 weeks for the whole season.
Yes, I agree. And we've got a comment here from Dino. It's like being dumped by your long-term girlfriend. Dino's not happy. He's not part of the dream team. But yeah, Matt, I'll take if we can have success like although we lost today, then I'll take that. Let's get some more. Peter said, "I'm glad I'm not a Derby fan. I mean, former Sky Blue Lucas Djukovic, he's done the business. I mean, Derby 1-0 up. I was thinking, we can't screw it up, can we? Here when Derby were winning, but no, I mean." Derby, I mean, I'm glad I'm not a Derby fan. It's not looking good for them.
They're in trouble.
Whatsoever. They're in big trouble, aren't they? And I mean, I thought they were in trouble. I mean, to be fair, they had a terrible start to the season. Do you know what I mean? They were really bad. Then they got some wins, and you sort of thought, but I was never convinced by them. I just thought, I don't know where, they were somehow getting a few victories, didn't they, under Rooney? But the moment he came out and said, 100%, we're going to be safe. Fine. I thought, what? Yeah. You're 100% not fine. Now you've just said that.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely
crazy.
Necessary. Why would you say it? Completely necessary.
It's, as a fan, that would wind me up. I saw it annoys me when Clive at halftime says, when we're winning, this is how the table will stand. I'm thinking, well, there's another half of football yet. Tell me what the table looks like at the end, Gareth says, who's going down? Going to be a great end to the season now. We're home and dry. Smiley face. I mean, play at Sky Blues. Let's get some more comments here. Andy, going too far this afternoon. They all looked, and it was probably a fair result in the end. Bigger picture, security, safety, 2 games to go. We'd all taken that at the start of the season. See you at the Rico. Yes, indeed. Luke says, who cares about today? We're staying in the championship. Happy days. And that's the big thing, isn't it? We're staying in the championship. As you said, Matt, we'd have took that at the start of the season. We were told about we had the smallest budget bar none, and all this sort of things, playing away again from our own city. And it's, again, it just shows the sort of togetherness, isn't it? Even when there was dodgy times this season, we've bounced back, haven't we?
Yeah, we've always seemed to step up when we really needed to. I felt like that throughout the season. Maybe when we've had a bit of a bad run, we've always kind of maybe had those moments where we were going to drop into the bottom 3 and then we put a performance in, got that win, kept us outside of that bottom 3. Obviously, we had that run after the international break. I think it was in November, and kind of going unbeaten for about 9 or 10 games, which really helped us out. And then we obviously had a little bit of a dip, but we've always kind of stepped back up, got that win, which has kind of kept us out of dropping in the bottom 3. And obviously that starts getting you nervy. The Rotherham game, for example, I don't think it would have been the case of us being down, obviously, if we'd have lost that game, but it would have just felt really nervy dropping into the bottom 3 at that stage. But getting that win at that point was so huge. And obviously they've kicked on from there. So, yeah, I mean, just our ability to kind of react, make sure we've kind of avoided having that fear of dropping into the bottom 3 has been fantastic. So, yeah, unbelievable achievement.
Brilliant. Right, let's get Josh in. He's been waiting patiently in the wings. And remember, Sky Blue Army, keep your comments coming in on YouTube, on Facebook. And if you want to join the debate, join the studio link, and then we can get you on. So, Josh, how are you? How are you doing today? Afternoon. And what did you make of the game today? But overall, the bigger picture, what do you make of us staying up this season?
Yeah, it's a weird one today, isn't it? Because it's like for me, a sort of disappointing performance and the game, and I feel tactically we probably didn't get it right today, but that's sort of all been wiped out really by the fact that we're staying up, and that's all confirmed really. It's when it's funny talking to Coventry fans when you talk about our low moments. So you think that the pig throwing at Charlton, or being 3-0 down at Oxford away, and honestly, if you had told me in sort of 5 years' time we'd be where we are, I would have laughed at you. So it's just an unbelievable achievement from Robbins and the team, and yeah, I mean it's happy days really, despite the result.
Exactly. And like you said, when you think of where we've come from, that season when we went down to League Two, it was brutal, wasn't it? Sheffield United, the game getting we were winning, weren't we? And then the players had to go off the pitch. Yeah. And I remember going to a Swindon game when Yakubu had pulled his hamstring and was walking around as our furthest player back. And horrendous. I look at the lineup.
Era, really.
But you looked at it, and you look at that team. I looked at the lineup of it, and we had like Quaime Thomas and Tud Guy up front, and you just think where we've come, with Robbins. And I remember saying at the start of the season, the support for him has got to be unconditional. Whether we had gone down, he's the best manager to get us back up. But as it's happened, he's kept us up, and all credit to him, isn't it?
Well, what people actually forget is even when Robbins came in for the end of that League One season, even with that team, he produced, he kept us going.
He gave us hope.
And got us the Secretary Trophy. So, he's obviously got something with the club. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm now sort of thinking of a Coventry Mount Rushmore where you've got Sillett, you've got Jimmy Hill, you've got Mark Robbins, and I'm leaving it open for the fourth vacancy. Maybe you guys can decide on that. But for me, he goes in there. I've been well over 20 years with this club now, by far and away the best manager for me we've had this time.
For me, by an absolute mile. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because when he left the first time, I remember I was at uni and I felt so betrayed, after the Preston game. But it's funny, if I'd knowing now what we do, I wouldn't, obviously in hindsight, wouldn't change anything. But he is honest, and ever since he's come back, I feel like he learnt a lot, didn't he, from when he left? And he said that, hasn't he? He didn't like the way it sort of happened. And it seems the right fit. We've heard that a lot, and I think it is more than just a cliche. I think Coventry's a great fit for him, and he's a great fit for us. Do you think?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, but I also think, this might be a controversial comment as a fan, but I almost feel like we ourselves have had to be humbled a bit to appreciate, where we are as a club, because. I'm not making excuses for the way, things have been run in the last 10 years and the point where we got to and why we got there. But I do remember sort of our years in the Championship from coming down from the Premier League sort of being slightly joyless in some sense, because, there was always that automatic expectation, we should be in the playoffs, why aren't we winning, easy games? Why aren't we automatically, pushing for promotion? And so it's been weird coming back to it this season with sort of that less expectation and sort of a bit more joy and a bit more fun in it. And ultimately, I mean, easy saying that now, we're safe from relegation, obviously, but ultimately, it's been much more fun to watch, and I'm much more hopeful about our future, obviously.
Exactly. And we've got with the Rico return as well. There's a lot to look forward to. And I think, like, you make a good point. When we were in the Championship before, I remember, especially when CC first took over with Coleman and that, we were always setting ourselves up to sort of be disappointed. We had really high expectations, but having gone down to League Two, hit the lowest of the low, you sort of, we've got this momentum for the first time. We've got momentum. I always felt like we were a bit like Birmingham in the last few years. We were always sort of had the odd good player. Yes. But we were slowly declining until the inevitable happened. But we've actually come up and we've finished the season. Look, hopefully we can get another win before the end of the season. But we've hit good momentum, and we can go into the summer hopefully and build again. And look at trying to get a top half sort of finish next season.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, for me, I think there was a poll out on Twitter about what we expect for next season. Now, for me, again, it's just purely, improving the team, finishing above whatever standard we set this season. Again, I'm still not really, I'm not thinking playoffs. A top half finish might be nice, but just again, keeping that momentum, keeping that progress going, and obviously also hoping to keep on to Mark Robbins, because I'm convinced someone's going to see the job he's doing and think, he should be somewhere else. But, fingers crossed that doesn't happen.
We've got a great comment here, Josh for PM.
Well, I think I do a better job than some others. But
well, Josh, thank you so much for tuning in. today,
Yeah,
and
thanks.
and we're staying up.
Yeah, absolutely. And just worth saying, obviously for you guys this season, I think SkyBlueExtra have done a brilliant job, during the pandemic, keeping that community together with the club and stuff, and keeping us, going through a difficult time. So credit to you guys for doing that.
No, thank you, Josh. And hopefully, the plan is once we can get back to grounds, that we can be at the grounds and sort of get people's live reaction in person. So that would be great. So bring that on,
Mate,
and
we're
staying up.
I can't wait to get back into the grounds. So yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Cheers, Josh, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening, mate.
Same to you guys. Bye.
Right, take care.
Cheers, Josh.
And Josh made some great points there, didn't he? It's that humbling. I thought it was a great comment about almost being humbled as a sort of a club. Going to Northampton, hitting the League Two, and it does make you appreciate these times better, doesn't it?
Yeah, I remember probably too well getting relegated from the Premier League and kind of being in the Championship and having maybe that kind of entitlement of thinking, we should be going straight back up, at least making the playoffs. And in fairness, that was probably taken from us quite quickly, because after 2-3 seasons, we were already probably more looking towards the bottom end of the table, which wasn't great. But yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously going through what we've gone through maybe over the last 10-15 years, and obviously now making our way back up. But for me, obviously this season we've already said it was all about staying in the Championship. And now we've done that. Obviously, it feels like a huge achievement, and just the excitement of being able to go and actually watch us play in the Championship is going to be absolutely massive. I can't wait, like Josh said.
Well, that was the thing. My biggest fear was if we didn't get to go to a game this season, going back down and then almost being like, did this year ever happen? Because then I didn't want the next game I go to be back in League One, say, and think, did that Championship season happen? Did we
just a blur?
Because we've never got to celebrate. And a comment here, is that, I think there should be like a staying up sort of do if they can. Do you know what I mean? Because we've never got to, I've not even been able to see Robins or the players. Do you know what I mean? Since we won the league, to, congratulate them. And obviously with this achievement, I think this is Robin's biggest achievement, I think.
I agree, 100%, absolutely, 100%. I mean, last season, probably going into the start of last season, I didn't probably maybe expect us initially to go up as champions. I thought we'd probably be somewhere around the top 6. So you're thinking, and you looked at the teams last year in League One, you thought, if you're in around that top 6, you're going to obviously have that opportunity to go up automatically as well. So, the chance was always there, but this season staying up, again, you look at some of the teams around us, look at some of the teams we're above. I mean, I look at Nottingham Forest. I don't know if, I believe we're still above them in the table after today. And, the fact they signed, let's say, for example, Murray on loan from Brighton in January. And you're just thinking that would have been ideal for us, because obviously at that point we had Tyler Walker and I think Godwin were both out injured. So you thought that would be absolutely ideal, but it never would have crossed my mind, because obviously we just we're never going to be in that level of conversation when it came to budget. But they signed him on loan, and he's pretty much been on the bench for them. Whereas we've maybe had to make do with players that have been with us on the journey. You couldn't question any of them in terms of effort, and it's worked out brilliantly for us.
It has, and I think, like you say, we're coming up from League One where the competition money and everything's a lot lower. We've come into a league where the money banding that's been spent in the Championship over the past few years has been crazy. The wages, you see QPR getting Charlie Austin. I mean, I dread to think how much he's on. You got likes of Ben Foster, Tom Cleverley, all these people, and our players will be on so much lower wages than them. But for us to stay up, knowing that we're going to be back at the Rico, but knowing that we've got the TV revenue of the Championship, which is I didn't almost appreciate, because the Sky and the amount of games we had televised when we used to be in the Championship is nothing compared to what it is this season. So I almost didn't appreciate that. It was almost like what League One was, that we'd maybe have one game, maybe two if we're lucky.
Yeah.
And this season we had 2 in the first 3 weeks. And it was like,
it's almost felt like the season ticket money has been, you've had iFollow, but then it's been on TV pretty much every game. So
that's what I mean.
More frustrated.
I got my iFollow. I know. I paid. But you pay I paid for the season ticket, and then like every first few home, it was always the home games as well.
Home. Yeah,
it was never away. So if it had been away, it'd have been like, oh, that's fine. But the first few away games, it was Sky. And
it's only the last few weeks where it's changed, and they've started putting some of the away games on. But I remember having a lot of frustrated conversations with friends saying, they'd let me know there's another home game on, and you're just thinking,
I know,
I've paid the money for, but
I know. Let's get in. Let's bring Mark in. Mark's been waiting patiently. Mark, we're staying up. Evening, good evening. What did you make of the game today? But also, I think the biggest focus is obviously staying up.
Yeah, definitely. I think staying up has been a brilliant achievement. And at the start of the season, I'd have happily taken fourth bottom. But to be where we are is as other people been saying earlier, is probably Robinson's biggest achievement. I think last season in League One, there was an expectation of us to get promoted to the Championship, but this season, I think in my view, I feel like we exceeded expectations. If you think about the budget, second lowest budget in the Championship, probably Wickham have got a lower budget than us. And I think it's a credit to the players, coaching staff, everyone have been fantastic. And obviously those, it's not about today. The 3 results that we won has kept us up. But I think in fairness, I think there is a team there where I feel has got potential to do better. And that's the exciting thing. I feel we can get up to mid-table. And obviously now we can start playing ahead of the future. And it's been a bit nerve-wracking. There's been a lot of games, you think, and I've been sitting there thinking, I just feel it's going to go to the Millwall game, do or die type of thing.
Well, we did, didn't you? You came on, Mark, a few weeks ago. It was only a couple of weeks ago. You came on, and I can't remember what game it was, and I think we were sort of a bit deflated, and we were sort of thinking it just looks almost destined, didn't it? To go to the final game of the season.
It felt that way. I think certainly after the QPR game, it was. You kind of, we all walked away that game thinking, this is going to be really, really nerve wracking. We just never got going against QPR, but the players and the coach staff deserve a huge amount of credit for the turnaround. They got together. They had a players meeting after the QPR result, and they played against Rotherham, and we deserved that win. We played like a team that wanted to be a Championship football club, and that was credit to everybody for that. And then we haven't looked back since. Today was a setback. I think Preston were a sort of team that were very organised defensively. Just to focus on the game, they're very organised defensively. They played a decent press second half, and but it's kind of it doesn't really make any difference now. We're staying up.
They're a horrible team, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't like.
It's the easy way of saying it. They're horrible.
I don't particularly. I don't like Ched Evans. He's a nightmare. He's one of those players. It's just a bitty kind of game today, wasn't it? It wasn't. I thought it was the sort of game. I had a feeling it was going to be a 1-0. I didn't know which way it was going to go. Obviously,
I agree.
Today, but it had that 1-0 feeling to it today. I was actually pleased to see Gyökeres and Biama get start. I think.
Yeah, what did you make of their performance? Because obviously they've all last few weeks that's been different that we've not had all season is 4 fit strikers at once. There's always been these 2 of them injured. What did you make of those 2 up top together? And in terms of Victor, would you want to see us try and get him in the summer, or what's your views on that?
I think definitely, yeah. I think I would try and sign him. People forget he scores some important goals for us this season. The Sheffield Wednesday game, he scores the winner against Stoke, and I think he's a decent striker. I can't think who else would get within our budget. But obviously, returning to the Rico and more season ticket sales, we may have a bigger budget. I don't know, but I think I think Victor's done well. I think Max today. One thing you can always say, you can't criticize his effort. His effort is always there every game,
isn't it?
His work rate is fantastic. But it's just his finishing for me that lets him down, and that's the only thing I can really criticise Max on. I think that chance in the first half he puts over the bar, probably should have scored that, if I have to be honest. But I think he's a good player to have around. I think in the long term, probably not the answer in the Championship in the long term. I think Walker and Godden are our best 2 strikers without a shadow of a doubt. He's
a plan B, isn't he? He's someone to bring on a bit of physical, and he'll sort of break a neck, for the team. Reece has put a comment saying about James Collins comes to mind, who's available on a free. I didn't realise he was available on a free. What would you think of that, Mark?
Yeah. If I think he's a proven striker at that level, and I certainly wouldn't. I think the only thing you could question is age, possibly, but he's a proven striker, and
we seem to get linked with him every at the end of every season, don't we, James? I mean, you always think about one of these seasons it's gonna happen, but I mean, he's available for a free. He's scored goals in the Championship, hasn't he, since Luton got promoted?
He has, and obviously being a Coventry lad as well, I think there may be that lure. I mean, I think what I'm thinking about in the summer is I want to see Matty James signed. I think that's the first player I'd say.
Well, I think he will be. I think he'll be number one priority.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're in a lucky position that I think where we are location wise and where he is, I think that him being in Leicestershire or wherever.
Yeah.
I think we're ideal, and obviously we've stayed up, which I think was huge. If we'd gone down, I don't think we'd have had a chance. But he's I definitely think we'll sign him, and then it's the same. And then the question is, people like Ostergaard, and can we get players like that? I mean, you got to think they'd be relishing. He'd relish 20,000 at the Rico.
I think Ostergaard, to me, seems like he really enjoys playing for the club.
Are you still there, Mark? I can't. Oh, Mark, I think I've just lost Mark. I'll see if he can reconnect.
Hello.
Are you back, Mark?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. Sorry, carry on. What were you saying?
Sorry, that was me. That was my. I went to voice control. It was my fault. Ostergaard, I think he really enjoys playing for the club, and after scoring that goal against Rotherham, and he sort of put that post on Twitter, and he seemed like he loves it. So it'll be nice if we can get him. I think it won't be easy because I feel like other clubs might come in for him, and the wages might be another thing. But I definitely think Ostergaard and James, for me, if we can get those two, that would be a fantastic starting point.
Exactly, it gives us a good base, doesn't it, to try and add a couple of extra. But no, you got to think. The other thing I always think is the players we came into the season with very, very minimal Championship experience. Players like Callum O'Hare, he's going to be a better player next season. One, because he's young, but also because he's played a lot of games. Remember last season he was an impact sub for us, and he's gone from being a League One impact sub to a Championship starter week in, week out. And I think he's going to be even better next season. And that goes for a lot of our defenders, the likes of Dominic Hyam, Michael Rose. He's been a bit unlucky with injuries. Da Costa seems to have got a bit better in previous last few weeks. Can he improve again for next season? There's a lot of players like that who are, Eccles, like we've spoken about earlier on. We've got a lot of players who could improve and be better for it next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think O'Hare's been one of our best players this season. And what I like about O'Hare is he's one of them players that he likes to run at people, and I think he's done pretty well in his first season. But you're right. I think there's some players that have had.
It's Markham.
I think voice control again.
Sorry, you got me back.
You got your back. You're back, Mark.
Yeah, sorry about that. There's a lot of players I think that will be a lot stronger for the experience for next season. Absolutely, and I think there's no reason why we can't get mid-table next season would be the aim I'd be going for. But the first thing I would do if I was Mark Robbins, I want to sign Matty James and Ostergaard would be my first two priorities, and then just work your way up from there.
Work from that. I totally agree, Mark, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening. We're staying up, and thank you always. I hope you tune in again before the season is out.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to everyone at SkyBlues Extra for doing the shows as per the previous caller. I think the shows have been brilliant, and it's great that we've got so much content. For all us fans, it's brilliant.
No, I appreciate that, Mark, and I know everyone at SkyBluesExtra. Thanks everybody for their constant comments and tuning in. So thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll see you next week as well.
Yeah, see you.
All right, cheers, Mark. Cheers,
Matt.
But yeah, he made a very good point. About Matty James. Do you agree, Matt? Do you think he'd be your sort of priority, sort of at the top of your list, and who to sign?
Yeah, absolutely. He's pretty much the most important player, I think, for us to try and get in for next season, or obviously try and keep for next season. Obviously, Ostergaard as well would be massive. I don't think Ostergaard is realistically somebody we're going to be able to keep permanently, unfortunately. Or maybe I've kind of got that fear. I just think long term he's probably going to sign a new contract at Brighton, but I do think, if you offered me another season of him on loan next year, I'd absolutely snap your hand off. But yeah, Matty James, in terms of I agree. I think, he's realistically, he should be somebody we could expect to get in on a permanent next season. He's got to be top of the list, really.
Let's bring a comment here. Dara says we need to add some real qualities to the squad to push on. Hopefully we use the transfer market well. And I think that's the thing. I think we've sort of seen that we've got a decent starting 11, but we almost need that extra bit of strength and depth, don't we? And some extra quality in those starting areas, because you sort of look at the bench today and you think Walker and Godden, but normally is one of them probably going to start. But then you sort of look in the midfield areas and maybe we're sort of lacking a bit of that impact. I felt like we had it against Barnsley when O'Hare was on the bench. But again, what sort of positions do you think you'd like to sort of strengthen?
It's a building process. I think, every season that and I've got so much faith in Robbins and the scouts of this club. They've done so well for us over the last few years. And obviously we've had kind of the awards for the academy over the last few weeks as well. So from that side of things, we're really well covered. We just haven't got a huge amount of money to be able to say we're going to go out and spend, multiple millions of pounds on a lot of players, maybe like some of the other teams around us in the league are going to do. So for us, it's about building, and every year that we kind of stay up, I would imagine we're probably going to have a similar budget next summer, or this summer, obviously, for next season to what we had last summer. But that means then again, you're probably talking about maybe a couple of players around that £1.5 million mark. And I would expect them to be not overly established, well-known players, but somebody that we bring in, we kind of find from another country that turned out to be a gem. Yeah, so I think it's just about building. In terms of positions, it's I think we probably do need another striker just to put in the rotation. I do think Walker and Godden especially are definitely championship, or can be championship level strikers. But I think at this level, you probably want maybe one or two more in who can kind of, you'd say, comfortably are going to score at this level. I think maybe goalkeeper was probably an area that we were thinking about, even a week or two ago. But now you're looking at the performances of Wilson. I know he's made a mistake today, but this is his first run of games really where he's had a chance to show himself. Obviously, he's done fantastic. So maybe not so much there, but maybe another midfielder as well. And if we can keep Ostergaard, then defence doesn't look too bad. But if we're not able to keep him next season, I think we probably do need to bring another centre half to replace him. Yeah, but probably for me, maybe another striker and somebody that maybe we can rely on to stay fit for the season and grab the goals that we need.
Exactly. I remember SkyBlue Army too. If you want to join the debate, make sure you join. You can keep your comments coming, and of course you can get involved in call. And we've got Glenn. We're going to add Glenn in now. Glenn, thank you for waiting. What did you make of today? What do you make of the season? We're staying up, and what are your thoughts in terms of moving? Now we can sort of look ahead to next season.
It was pretty much what I expected it to be today. It was a horrible game to watch. It was not a spectacle. It was niggly. It was just. I think they just rattled us. We did daft things. Like Hamer got involved. I think he was a bit lucky with the challenge he laid on one of their lads. Wilson just looked a bit jittery, which he doesn't normally. He could have given a penalty away before the one he did. I think the one that he did give away, I don't think he actually made much contact with Ched Evans. But at least we had a go. Second half. At least Robbins did something that I've called him out for a few times, and Dean has, that he was positive. He stuck three up top, and probably maybe with a bit of luck we might have nicked a result. But as I said, we've done it. Are we really going to be bothering about Preston at home next season when we're at the Rico and we've got West Brom or someone like that playing us? So no, it's job done. We've done it a hell of a lot earlier than I think me and you expected, Ross. I think after the QPR game, I said we needed 4 wins, and I think you said, where are we going to get 4 wins from?
I had no idea where we're going to get them from. Yeah. I thought we would be lucky to get it to the last game, but you're so right. I mean, do you think if there was something riding on this game, had we not beat Stoke, you feel like the intensity just wasn't quite there today, was it, compared to the last few games? Like that's why, like you say, we did little silly things which we haven't been doing in the last few games. Or do you think it was maybe a bit of concentration, or what do you think?
Yeah, it was just poor decision making. Like with McCallum's long throw always was a good weapon, and then we were taking short throw-ins. It was just and then it was just bizarre. It was just some bizarre choices, which I think you've got to be fair to the lads. Unless you're playing football, you don't know how tough it is, obviously physically and mentally, with what's going on. And they're not able to go out and probably socialise like you would do in team bond. I mean, I think the lads put something on. A few of them would have been out golfing or stuff, and I think it's stuff like that you need to do, and we haven't been able to do that. And I think there's something there, and we've got definitely a foundation to build on. I don't want to lose the next two games, but I think it's more. I'll be looking more at players' performances than the results. I think it's a chance for people to put their hands up and say, I want to be at the club next season. Like Eccles has got a chance. Da Costa was a lot better today. And the best thing you can say to Costa is we probably don't need to rush Dabo back in, which we probably would have done a couple of weeks back if we hadn't won the games. Rose looked good to give him some game time. He's definitely someone we're going to have to get fit.
He's been plagued, hasn't he, this season? He's been very unfortunate, hasn't he? He's just never had enough games to sort of get out of speed. He sort of looked good, and then he's just had another little setback, hasn't he? So hopefully, same with Dabo. Him and Dabo have just never quite been able to. They've just been unfortunate, haven't they, this season?
Yeah, and it's like that like trio. Well, 4 players, weren't it? It was Rose, Dabo, O'Hare, and Godden. They all linked really well, and then you threw Walsh into the mix, and it's just positives. The worry is obviously it's another game where we've not had Kelly and we've not got a result. And somebody else made the point. If you look at Kelly's record when he's been with us, he doesn't play a full season. He is slightly injury prone.
He's got a few this year, hasn't he?
And that's my worry. I know a few people. I know a guy put a tweet up, I think it was Friday morning, and said we're going to probably have to face up to the fact that we're going to lose some fans' favourites. And I do wonder, maybe it is a case that Robins might have to make a big call, and it is going to be by to maybe a Kelly or a Faz and maybe even a Max. They're going to have to go because we need to get better. I think Gorkrez, I think he might be available on a free in the summer. I'd definitely take a punt on him. He's got a good attitude, and I just don't think we really played any football today. We just went too far back to front, and it didn't really suit him or Max, and they just looked like they knew what they were going to do and just disrupt us. But it'll be interesting to see what Robins does in the summer. I do agree with what Matt says. We need another forward, but I think we need probably someone like it who plays a bit like Iwula, who can play through the middle, can play.
Well, how about someone like Jody? Reece has made the comment about Jody Jones. He's obviously, we gave him that year this year. He obviously did his injury, but he's sort of back on the grass again. Would you extend his contract? And do you hope that could he be that sort of other attacking flair player that we need?
We need obviously someone who's going to give competition for Callum O'Hare, definitely. I think O'Hare was brilliant again today, but he got lumps kicked out of him, and that's going to be the case. And it's only a matter of time before, if it carries on that way, he's going to get an injury of some form. He's going to because he gets clattered way too often. So we need cover in that position. Yeah, Jones is another. I think he's got his attitude's right. I think he could come back stronger. You've only got to look at likes of Callum Wilson and stuff who've had bad knee injuries and come back and gone on to be relatively successful. So yeah, Jones is definitely, you keep him on board. I'd keep Max on board. I just worry that there's a couple that probably aren't up to it. Maybe Shipley and Allen. Maybe
Shipley, Allen. Yeah, well that's it. I mean, would you then in the last couple of games? Because, I mean, I'm sure Robins has already made decisions on certain players. Would you play the likes of Shipley and Allen in the last couple of games to give them a final chance? Or what do you think? What would you do in terms of those sort of players?
I think, unfortunately, Allen, I personally think the decision's made. Yeah. Shipley is slightly different because He's slightly younger than Alan. And the frustration with Shipley, there has been games this season where he's played in the Championship and he's looked decent. But there's been also other games where he's looked decidedly average. But I think with him being younger, I think there's a potential to work with him. And that's my concern. I don't want us to sign a load of 30-plus players in the summer because there is going to be no resale model on our value. So we've got to box sensibly and buy sensibly, but we do need that level of experience. But I think maybe you'd go for a Gorkarez over a James Collins, because if Gorkarez has a good season or couple of seasons, you've got the sell-on value. James Collins, with all due respect, you're not going to get clubs probably knocking down your door to take him off you, unfortunately. And that's the same thing with Ostergaard. Hopefully, even if we got Ostergaard back on loan, because he's going to play for us, and hopefully Brighton will keep him, then he's somebody who is only going to get better. Callum Maher's only going to get better for the experience of this season. Hamer, if we keep him, is only going to get better. I'd love to see Sam McCallum back at the club, because I think he's become like a key component for us. But ultimately, it's down to what Norwich do. And do you really want to be waiting pre-season while Norwich make their mind up and not having a left back on board? So it's going to be interesting. But
there's a lot of food for thought, isn't there, for Robbins?
Yeah, I just hope he gives some people a chance. Like I say, Bapaga, Eccles, some start time. And just like I say, give them an opportunity to put their hands up and see how they're going to be next season, because we're gonna need to use them at some point next season. We can't have 25 quality players who are going to be brilliant. No. So we're going to have people stick their hands up. So like Burrows or a few of the others can have a go and see how they get on.
Exactly. Well, Glenn, thank you so much for joining again, and I'm sure you'll join next week. And we're staying up. There's a lot to look forward to and see how things develop. But thank you again for all your great thoughts as always.
Thank you, lads. Thanks for the content. It's been brilliant this season, and look forward to seeing you at the weekend.
Yep. Cheers, Glenn.
Cheers,
Glenn. Take care, mate. Take care. Very good points from Glenn, and then we've got Andy has made a comment. Shipley, on the Shipley sort of subject. He obviously signed that new long-term deal, didn't he? Just last season. So they obviously see something in Shipley, and I think we as fans sort of see it as well. Glimpses, and you think, there's a real player there. You see him do some really nice technical things, and then as Glenn says, at times he sort of, as with all the players of this season, sort of let themselves down a little bit, and you sort of left sort of wondering, are they quite at that standard? But him signing that new long-term deal would suggest Robbins and the staff sort of feel that they can improve him, because he is still young.
It's difficult because obviously a lot of these players, Shipley being a good example, the majority of what we've seen from him is obviously been League One, League Two. So, and then he hasn't, obviously had regular game time in the Championship, and we obviously live and die by every result. So if there's a slight mistake or if there's a slight moment that doesn't quite go to plan, then we're probably all over that, and it sticks in our mind. So yeah, I agree. I think he's had good moments this season. He's definitely had bad moments. We've got to be honest and say that. But one of the things about Shipley, and maybe some of these guys from the days of League One and League Two have been with us for that period of time, is and maybe even especially Shipley, I do think he's somebody who's got Coventry really ingrained into him. The club is a big part of him, and it's always good to have those kind of players around. And if we think there is somebody there or a player there who can play at this level, then you want to keep him around, because if he's potentially got that quality, and he's obviously somebody who really cares about the club and has kind of come through the divisions with us, and has it kind of a big part of his life and everything else, then that would just work really well. So Shipley, he's somebody that I would say hasn't 100% nailed on in terms of kind of his performances this season, being with us next season, but I think he's done enough. And I think with the fact he's been with us a long time, and he probably has that that holds that kind of esteem with the club, and obviously has it as part of his his life, and holds it in his heart, then I would keep him around personally.
Well, we got a comment here from Frank, and he wants to get our thoughts on potentially Liam Walsh coming back in the summer. He's obviously out of contract. As far as I've not seen him sign a new one yet at Bristol City. Bristol City seem to be in a bit of a a shambolic place at the moment. There seems, you watch some of Nigel Pearson's post-match reaction, and he's safe to say he's not best pleased, with how things. Walsh has obviously not played a lot of football this season, but obviously we know how brilliant he is. Do you think there's a chance? Because obviously I get the feeling Ben Sheaf isn't going to be signing. I know we had this obligation to buy. I've just got a feeling we won't be. Matty James, yes, but Liam Walsh. What do you think? Do you think there's any chance?
We can't let this one go, can we? he's always sticks in the memory, and until he signs, it's always going to be kind of, probably for the rest of his career, Cop fans are always going to be telling him to come back. I think, I don't understand. I don't see a reason why it would be completely impossible for him to potentially come to us, but I do worry about the fact that he hasn't really played any football this season, and we've got to take that into account. He was fantastic for us in League One. I would be fairly confident he probably is a championship level player. So it's not so much a kind of a worry in his ability to maybe play at this level, but maybe more about his injury history and is he going to be like kind of a regular factor for us? I kind of agree when it comes to Sheaf. I think we've gone through most of the season thinking he's going to be here next season, but there was a comment from Robbins after, I don't know if it was the last game or it was in the last couple of games, where he kind of talked about the kind of the factors behind why we might have to sign him or why we would sign him, and it got my attention because he's trying to maybe put it out there that it's not going to happen. He's gone back to Arsenal, and obviously there are I guess certain obligations with it that maybe haven't been met. So I think maybe that won't happen. And if you kind of said to me, would I rather have Walsh instead of Sheaf, I probably would rather have Walsh. But then,
I think the more realistic one would be Matty James or Sheaf, and I think we'd all take Matty James over Sheaf
100%
in terms of And I agree. I wonder whether some of because Robin's made it sound like there was a lot of boxes to tick, staying up probably being one, but also appearances. And there was a period of time, I know he's injured now, but there was a period of time when he was fit and he wasn't coming on at all. And I wonder whether it was almost a deliberate case, pure speculation, but whether we didn't want to. Robbins has made his decision on him, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's bring some more comments in. Ken Stewart says, poor game today, but great achievement from the team and management to survive in our first season back at this level, and I completely agree with that. Sky CCFC says, also forgot to say, mind the trapdoor, Mr. Rooney. It is good. Callum says, Akin Fenward would be a good signing. Obviously, he scored his first goal. I'm not sure we'll be signing him. Andy Gray's got involved on the Shipley sort of little chat. I like Shippers. I think the biggest thing with him is confidence. I agree with that. I think that's taken a bit of a knock this season. I think that's a very, very fair point, Andy. I think a lot of players actually, and that's what I sort of saw towards this sort of middle part of the second half of the season. A lot of players last season, we had that great confidence, didn't we? We knew we can score one goal, we're going to win the game. This season, it's not as plain sailing, is it? And we've had difficult times where we've been punished for mistakes that we weren't last season, and confidence has taken a hit. And I completely agree. I think Shipley's one of those. Maybe in the last couple of games, there's a chance to go out there. We're safe. Do you know what I mean? The worst thing that happens is we lose this game. Go out there and try and get that confidence back. So it'll be interesting to see. Reese has also got a comment on Walsh saying he's young enough to recover from his injuries this season. It'd be great competition with many games played in a season. And that's the thing. We're always going to get injuries, isn't it? And that's, we need that sort of depth in the squad. And I got a feeling that Robbins sometimes probably looked at the bench like we did and thought, who do I want to bring on? I think it was Middlesbrough. We lost. And he didn't make a change. Do you know what I mean? Literally, and I sort of thought
there were a couple of games around that time where I think we lost close games. We were kind of maybe that Middlesbrough, I think it was like the 70th minute that they scored. And we didn't make any changes. We seemed to almost be resigned to the fact. And I think people almost, I remember a reaction being, is he saving people for kind of Saturday or for the next game? He just thought it was really weird. And maybe it was a little bit to do with just not feeling confident about who he was going to bring on to be able to change the shape of the game anyway. Yeah,
exactly. Who would you say, how important, who do you think has been the most key players this season in our survival? Matt, who do you think's, who would you almost say man of the season, if you like, in terms of the playing side? Who do you think's had a brilliant season, who without them it might have been a bit different?
I'd say it's close. The first half of the season, it probably was Hamer. I think consistently through the season for me, it probably has been Ostergaard. I just think he has just been that little bit more consistent. We know Hamer's probably dropped off a little bit in the last few weeks. He's had a couple of, better games maybe in the last couple where we've gone on our run, but I think just for consistency, it probably has been Ostergaard. Obviously when Kelly has played, we've got a great record in having him in there and just having that kind of leadership, I guess. So I would probably put it between those two, but just probably on the fact that Kelly obviously has been quite heavily affected by injuries this season. I probably would knock it towards Ostergaard as an overall. It probably does make you think, though, it has been so much of a team effort, really, because I don't think there has been many people who've stood out above anybody else. And obviously we've achieved a great thing this season in staying up. So they've all done well, because maybe Ostergaard, maybe Kelly stick out a little bit, but I think, you could point to a lot of people. I think Callum Harrison, he said earlier, absolutely fantastic in terms of his work rate as well. And, we know
tackling, winning the ball back.
He's fantastic, but he will just not stop for 90 minutes. Darbo, obviously, but McFadden, I know we've had a few issues with
He's been good, though, I think.
I think he's been fantastic. So he would be one of the kind of people I would mention as well. But, maybe Ostergaard, but just by a small amount, because I think it has been a team effort.
For the goal celebrations, kicking the corner flag, he might just get the nod. But Glenn's put a comment: very enlightening interview with Robbins, particularly about playing during a pandemic. Apparently on BBC Coventry, Warwickshire, this was saying survival is a miracle and the greatest achievement of his managerial career, and that we need new players to bolster the squad. And I guess that's the great thing. I mean, I agree. I think in terms of Robbins, obviously all these achievements, this wouldn't have happened without the League Two promotion. But I just feel like with everything going on, I mean, again, he's not been dealt the easiest of hands, Robbins, since he's come back with, playing in Birmingham and all this. I just feel I'm so pleased for him that we've done it. And I'm excited, and he's earned the right with everything he's done to have a chance to build this squad again and push us on. Because I look at Robbins, I think he wants to do it, doesn't he? He wants to be the one to take us to the promised land, to the Super League, if you will, of the Premier League.
Super League of the Premier League, yeah.
Exactly. But no, he's done a brilliant job, and we'll wrap up now, Matt. What are your sort of final thoughts and feelings of because we have confirmed our safety today, forget the game today, but what your overriding emotions and thoughts of this season and the fact we are staying up?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I would have, like we said at the start, taken 21st by goal difference if that had meant us staying up. So anything that we do above that is an absolute massive bonus. And I think it is a case of building, obviously, next season. If we can try and maybe replace some of those players who are League One, League Two players that we know about, and kind of build that squad, I think we'll quite comfortably stay up potentially next season, and then we can build from there. So I think obviously today is a little bit of a weird one, because obviously we had lost and it wasn't the most enjoyable game, and probably we did feel like we were staying up anyway, but it's still absolutely fantastic to get it confirmed. And I think obviously just the fact now we know we're going to be going back watching football next season, we're going to be watching Championship football, it's unbelievable. It's exciting.
It is, and thank you, Matt, for a superb debut today. Hopefully we'll be able to do it in person, obviously next season. And Sky Blue fans, we are staying up. And I know a few weeks ago I thought we were done after the QPR game, but the relegation battle, done. We can get our popcorn and
not watch, even been in it. Not even been a relegation battle.
What relegation battle? We can just sit back and watch the other teams. But thank you from me and Matt to all of your comments as always. And we'll be back. We'll have obviously the podcast coming out on Monday with the rest of the team. But for me and Matt, my new dream partner, play up Sky Blues.